Meet Diana. Diana is 34. Good job in HR, decent apartment, $67,000 a year. By every visible measure, she's doing fine. She contributes a little to her 401k. She doesn't overspend on clothes. She meal preps on Sundays. She is, by most definitions, responsible. But every time she gets a raise, she doesn't feel ahead. She feels slightly less behind. Because Diana is carrying $23,400 in credit card debt across 3 cards. $28,000 left on student loans she's been paying since 2015, and a car payment she told herself she'd clear quickly. She hasn't. Diana is not careless. She budgets. She tracks. She just hasn't been able to answer one question cleanly in about 6 years. What would I actually do with my money if none of that existed? Now meet Daniel. Daniel is 43. Same city. Similar income. $71,000 a year. 3 years ago, he made his last consumer debt payment. Last credit card. Last student loan installment. Last car note. All cleared within an 18-month stretch. His income didn't change. His job didn't change. But in the 12 months after that final payment, he invested more than he had in the previous 8 years combined. Not because he earned more, because the math finally had room to work. Today, we're going to follow both of them. What Diana's money is actually doing right now, what Daniel's money started doing the moment the last account closed, and exactly what the gap between those two looks like, compounded over 10 and 20 years. Because the personal finance world spends a lot of time telling you how to pay off debt. Almost nobody shows you the full picture of what happens after. To your cash flow, your investment capacity, and your actual financial trajectory. That's what this is. Let's start with Diana's numbers, because most people in her situation significantly underestimate what their debt is actually costing them. On the surface, Diana's monthly debt payments look like this. Credit cards. She pays $520 a month across her 3 cards, which sounds responsible until you realize at an average APR of 22%. Roughly $380 of the $520 is pure interest. She is paying $380 a month to stay in place. Her student loans cost her $310 a month at 6.5% interest. Her car payment is $387 a month. Total monthly debt obligation, $1,217. That's $1,217 a month that cannot go anywhere else. Cannot be invested. Cannot build anything. It just leaves. Now here's the number Diana has probably never run. If she took that same $1,217 a month and put it into a basic S&P 500 index fund earning the historical average of 8% annually, starting today, here's what she'd have. In 10 years, $221,000. In 20 years, $716,000. She is not investing $1,217 a month. She is servicing debt with it, which means that $716,000 is not a number she's building toward. It is a number she is forfeiting. Quietly. Every month. Without a line item that says future wealth declined. And that's before we calculate the interest drag. The total cost of carrying this debt to its natural conclusion. At her current payment pace, Diana will pay approximately $14,800 in credit card interest before those cards are cleared. Her student loans will cost her another $9,200 in interest over the remaining term. Her car loan adds $2,100 more. That's $26,100 in interest payments she will make on top of the money she already borrowed. $26,100 that will never appear in any account she owns. Here's a way to think about what that number actually is. $26,100 is a fully funded Roth IRA for 3 years. It's a house deposit supplement. It's the seed capital for almost any small business you'd want to start. It is not nothing. It's just gone before it ever had a chance to be anything. This is what we should call the debt tax. Not the interest rate. The interest rate is just a number on a screen. The debt tax is the compounding future value of every dollar that leaves your account in interest payments instead of investment contributions. It is invisible. It is permanent, and almost nobody calculates it. Diana hasn't calculated it. Most people haven't. And that's exactly why the moment it stops is so much more significant than the personal finance world gives it credit for. Let's go back to Daniel, specifically to the 18 months before his last payment. Daniel had $41,000 in consumer debt at his peak, credit cards, a student loan, and a car note, same as Diana roughly. He used the debt avalanche method, which means he ordered his debts by interest rate, highest to lowest, and attacked them in that sequence while paying minimums on everything else. Credit cards first because they were killing him at 24% APR. Student loans second, car note last. The avalanche method wins mathematically almost every time. A 2016 study in the Journal of Marketing Research confirmed what the numbers already show. Paying highest interest debt first minimizes total interest paid. On Daniel's debt load, it saved him approximately $4,300 in interest compared to paying smallest balance first. But here's what happened when each account closed, and this is the part that matters. When his first card hit zero, he didn't lifestyle creep that payment. He stacked it onto the next debt. This is the avalanche in action. Each cleared payment becomes ammunition for the next target. His monthly attack on debt grew from $400 extra to $680 to $1,100 as each account fell. The payoff timeline accelerated in a way that felt almost unfair given how slow it felt at the beginning. And then the last payment cleared. His total freed monthly cash flow, $1,340. Here's exactly where it went, in this order. First, he paused. 3 months. He rebuilt his emergency fund to 6 months of expenses, not investing yet. Just making sure he was never one bad month away from putting something back on a card. Then he deployed. First dollar, his employer's 401k match. He was only contributing 2%, enough to get half the match. He bumped it to 6% to capture the full match. That's a 50% guaranteed return on those dollars before the market does anything. Nothing else in personal finance comes close. Second, a Roth IRA. $583 a month, maxing the annual $7,000 contribution limit for 2025. Every dollar in there grows completely tax-free. The IRS never touches the gains, ever. Third, everything left went into a taxable brokerage account, low-cost index funds, set to auto-invest, something he'd tried to start 3 times before and couldn't sustain because the money kept getting absorbed back into debt payments. Total monthly investment after the deployment, $1,100. Not all $1,340. Some of that went to the emergency fund top-up and a modest lifestyle adjustment that he'd genuinely earned. But $1,100 a month, consistently invested at 8% annually. In 10 years, $201,000. In 20 years, $651,000. Daniel did not get a promotion. He did not inherit money. He did not start a business or pick individual stocks or do anything clever. He just closed the last tab. And compound interest, which had been working against him for years in the form of APR, flipped sides and started working for him. Here's the part the spreadsheet doesn't capture. A 2019 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences tracked people before and after their debts were eliminated. Not reduced, eliminated. Anxiety dropped from 78% of participants showing clinical symptoms down to 53%. A 25 percentage point reduction in diagnosable anxiety from closing debt accounts alone. More importantly for our purposes, cognitive performance improved. People made measurably better financial decisions after debt elimination. They became less impulsive and less likely to take the short-term option at the expense of the long-term outcome. The brain doesn't experience debt as a number. It experiences it as an open threat. And managing an open threat uses cognitive resources constantly, quietly, in the background that would otherwise go toward higher-order thinking, career planning, risk assessment, long-term decision-making. This is why Diana filters every major decision through one silent question she's never quite articulated out loud. Can I still cover the payments if this goes wrong? Can she take the job with more responsibility and slightly lower base salary because the growth trajectory is better? Payments. Can she go part-time for a year while she builds the consulting practice she's been sketching out? Payments. Can she take the unpaid project that would get her the credential she actually needs? Payments. The debt is not just a financial obligation, it is a career constraint she didn't agree to explicitly and has never written down but feels every time an opportunity shows up. Daniel stopped running that calculation, not because he's reckless, because the calculation changed. With no mandatory consumer debt payments and a growing investment account, one bad quarter doesn't cascade. One job transition doesn't create a crisis. The floor of what survival costs dropped, and when the floor drops, the ceiling rises. He took a lateral move 18 months. After his last debt payment, same salary, different company, better equity upside. He wouldn't have done it before. The risk math didn't work before. It worked after. Northwestern University researchers found that carrying high debt-to-asset ratios correlates with measurably higher blood pressure and worse self-reported health outcomes, even after controlling for income. This is not a metaphor. The debt was a physiological burden, and when it closed, the body noticed the same way the mind did. Let's make this concrete, because the gap between Diana and Daniel is not fate. It's a sequence, and sequences can be started. Step 1. Choose your method and understand what it actually costs you. Debt avalanche, highest interest rate first, wins mathematically in almost every scenario. On a $50,000 combined debt load at mixed interest rates, Avalanche typically saves $3,000 to $6,000 in interest compared to Snowball. If you have high APR credit card debt, Avalanche is not a preference. It's the arithmetically correct answer. Debt snowball, smallest balance first, wins psychologically for some people. And the 2019 PNAS research we mentioned actually supports this. Closing accounts matters to the brain more than the dollar amount of relief. If you've tried Avalanche and stalled, Snowball is not a failure. It's a different tool. The best method is the one you'll actually finish. Step 2. Find the extra payment. The math on acceleration is brutal in the best way. On Diana's $23,400 in credit card debt at 22% APR. Paying only the minimum means she clears it in approximately 9 years and pays $21,000 in interest. Adding $200 a month extra cuts that to 3 years and saves $15,000 in interest. $200 a month. That's the difference between a $21,000 tax on her own money and a $6,000 one. Find the $200. Step 3. Know exactly what you're doing the day the last payment clears. This is where most people lose the compounding. The payment disappears, and the money quietly becomes better takeout and a streaming service upgrade within 6 months. The freed cash flow has to have a destination before the account closes, not after. The sequence in order: rebuild the emergency fund first. 6 months of expenses in liquid savings before a single dollar goes anywhere ambitious. Then, capture the full 401k employer match, because that's a guaranteed 50 to 100% return and nothing else competes. Then, max the Roth IRA, $7,000 in 2025, tax-free growth, forever. Then, max the 401k contribution limit, $23,500 in 2025. Then, taxable brokerage with low-cost index funds for everything remaining. If you're redirecting $1,000 a month through that sequence at 8%, $183,000 in 10 years, $593,000 in 20. You did not need a windfall. You needed the payments to stop and the redirect to be intentional. Diana and Daniel earn almost the same income. They live in the same city. They're not different people in any way that would show up on the surface. But Diana is building a number she can't see yet, the compounding future value of every dollar leaving her account in interest. Daniel is building a different number, the kind that shows up in an account balance, the kind that changes what decisions are available to you. The gap between them is not income. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's the presence or absence of $1,200 a month that has somewhere to go other than servicing the past. Here's the thing about that gap. It starts small. In year 1, Diana and Daniel look almost identical from the outside. By year 10, Daniel has $200,000 that Diana doesn't. By year 20, that number is over $500,000. The gap doesn't grow linearly. It accelerates, because that's what compounding does when you finally give it room. Diana is going to get there. She's meticulous. She tracks. She just hasn't run the full number yet. Not the balance, but the cost of the balance. Not what she owes, but what she's forfeiting. If you're watching this as a Diana, run the full number, not just the interest rate. The compounded future value of every dollar currently leaving your account in interest payments. Look at it once. Really look at it. Because the people who close the gap fastest aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who understood what staying in debt was actually costing them and decided that number was no longer acceptable.